As much as we talk about the Philadelphia Eagles collapsing at the end of last season and how bad it was, how embarrassing it was for the fans, and how this organization has to push a lot of different buttons, and how Nick Sirianni has to show up and regain the control of this team, and how the radio's been trying to stir up the controversy with Hurts and Sirianni, whatever it is, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to remind you that things can always be worse. They always can. And even through all of it, I think we forget sometimes that the Eagles have been pretty successful as a franchise. Matter of fact, one of the most successful since, 2000? I mean, think about all the conference championships they went to. Think about winning the Super Bowl and the fact that they've made the playoffs 6 out of the last 7 years. The point of me talking to you today is not to try to sway you or convince you that we have to be happy all the time. No, we are the Philadelphia fan base that holds our players accountable, and we give them that respect, and honestly, we cheer them on like nobody else when they're doing well, but we also let them hear it when they're not playing up to their ability or giving effort. But at the end of the day, you could always be a team like the Dallas Cowboys. You always could. Or a team like the New York Giants or whoever else. Like I said, you could have, been one of those franchises that hasn't even, sniffed the playoffs in the last 7 years. So I came across this tweet here today from Matt Miller, NFL Draft Scout, and he actually made an interesting point. When you put it like this, it's like, damn. He says, an interesting contrast in the NFC East between Dallas and Philadelphia in terms of the young core locked up in the long term. Dallas's blue chip players, Dak, CD, Micah Parsons, Zach Martin, none of those guys right now have a long-term contract or are at the end of their prime, aka Zach Martin. Philly's blue chip players, Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, Landon Dickerson, all have been locked up long-term. It speaks to the excellence of this organization's front office. It speaks to the fact that Dallas is delusional, and Jerry Jones said that they were going all in, and they've done pretty much nothing this offseason, and it speaks to the fact that the Eagles are building this team the right way. Even if it's not instant gratitude and success, they are lining up for a potential really good, I'd say 3, 4, 5 years here. We know the importance of trying to win when your quarterback is on a rookie contract. And now Jalen Hurts has been paid, just like Dak was paid, and they haven't been able to get over the hump. It gets very tricky. It gets hard. You have to find these gems, but also you have to get guys, who are early in their career and try to lock them up early. That way you can complement your quarterback. And that is exactly what the Philadelphia Eagles have done. And if we just compare for a second the off seasons, because, I know everybody's going to be hype on the Cowboys train once the season comes around and the national media is going to try to play them up. The fact of the matter is it's been 28, 29 years since they made the Super Bowl. It's getting too much for me to even count. It's before I was born. And the Philadelphia Eagles have been to 2 Super Bowls in the last 7 years, and they won one, right? So all I'm saying is you look at the Cowboys, they have done essentially nothing. The Giants had a Cinderella run to the playoffs a couple years ago. They have stunk. They were awfully bad, and they got smoked anyway by the Philadelphia Eagles. Matter of fact, I'd say the Washington Commanders are probably the sneaky team in the NFC East this year. They actually had a pretty good free agency, but they usually never do anything with it anyway. But let's just compare for a second the off seasons, okay? Philadelphia Eagles got rid of some dead weight. Kevin Byard. Let's go back a little bit. Who else did they sign? They signed Landon Dickerson, re-signed him to a big contract. They re-signed Braden Mann at the time. They re-signed Jake Elliott, one of the best kickers in the NFL. Then they go out, they signed Saquon Barkley. They signed Bryce Huff, a 25-year-old stud who had a breakout season. They signed a linebacker in Zach Bond. They re-signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson back after he played a year in Detroit, after that whole confusion. They pick up a backup quarterback in Kenny Pickett. They signed Paris Campbell. They trade Hassan Reddick, which is still a little bit frustrating to me, but they got younger. And then they end up re-signing Reed Blankenship on a 1-year prove-it deal. They bring back Avonte Maddox, CJ Uzoma. They signed Avonte and AJ to their long-term deals. And they just continue to make moves. Oh, by the way, they draft Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, a couple players late in the draft who may be able to contribute. And the Philadelphia Eagles have addressed every position of need this offseason. Now let's go ahead and look at the Cowboys offseason. What have the Cowboys done? I remember they signed a long snapper. Who else did they sign? Martavis Bryant. They hired Mike Zimmer as their defensive coordinator. They released Leighton Vander Esch and Michael Gallup. They signed Eric Kendricks and CJ Goodwin. Who else did they pick up? Royce Freeman. Oh, wait, they brought back Ezekiel Elliott. Game changer. Game changer. They declined the fifth-year option on Trey Lance. My point is that as much as we criticize the Philadelphia Eagles, and as bad as it may seem at times, the Eagles are set up to really compete for these next several years, where if I want to talk about the Cowboys for a second, honestly, and their fans may not like this, I think they may be headed towards a rebuild. Honestly, they have done it how many years over and over, and they say the same things and they portray themselves in the same light, but they never do anything. They cannot get to the promised land, and a lot of these guys have not been signed. Are they going to want to be there long term? Maybe one of them will, maybe two of them, but I don't see this being a sustainable core moving forward, whereas the Eagles players are all, 25, 26 and under, and they're all locked up long term. Howie is running laps around the rest of the league. He's running laps around Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. And the Philadelphia Eagles have a much better chance of being at the top of this division for years to come, as opposed to a team like the Cowboys, who still is having trouble locking up any of their players. And oh, by the way, price tag just went up for a guy like CeeDee Lamb after Devontae gets paid, A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Nico Collins, all these guys just pushing up the number. And the Cowboys are just sitting here kind of, staying afloat, not really doing much, just taking it one day at a time. So, look, man, at the end of the day, I think the Eagles are in good position. Sure, we may have just taken a chance to clown the Cowboys, but I thought this is a really good point out of Matt Miller. And I think the Philadelphia Eagles are in really good shape moving forward. And if they have a good season this year, all will be forgotten last year. And hopefully they can dominate the NFC, get that number one seed, get that home field, and maybe get back to the big game this time, put us over the top and win it. So what do you think about this tweet? Give me your thoughts down below in the comments section. Why do you think the Eagles are criticized as much as they are? Why do you feel like there's more tension than there really may be right now? Also, real quick, let's go ahead and give a shout out to our sponsor of today's video. It is the great BetMGM. Enjoy all your favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up using our code ATOZPA and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you do not win your first bet. When you register with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to parlays, live bets, player props, and daily boosted odds specials. And with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matter more than ever. So go ahead and find out why BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks. Sign up today with the bonus code ATOZPA and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you do not win your first bet. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions.